I love sharks.
You love sharks.
Yeah, I love them.
The great fish moved silently through the night water, propelled by short sweeps of its crescent tail. This was the opening line to Peter Benchley's novel, Jaws. In 1971, over lunch with editor Thomas Congdon, Benchley pitched the idea of Jaws, and based on one single page, he was given $1,000 in advance to begin writing the story that would go on to become the very first summer blockbuster. Before the novel received its now hugely famous title, there were over 200 other titles considered. Some of these included Silence in the Water, The Year They Closed the Beaches, and one suggestion from Peter Benchley's dad was, "What's that noshing on my leg?" The word shark was one that Benchley did not want included in the title, as he feared it would be stocked in the nature section of bookstores, and so the one-word title Jaws was agreed upon. On sale in January 1974, and despite its author fearing it wouldn't be a success, it remained on the bestseller list for an amazing 45 weeks. The paperback had 9 million copies in print by the time the movie was released in 1975. A young man by the name of Steven Spielberg had already directed a made-for-TV movie, Duel, in 1971, which featured a homicidal truck terrorizing a motorist. This resonated with film producers Richard Zanuck and David Brown, as it highlighted a similar theme of a monstrous force targeting innocent individuals, which they saw as relevant to the story.
Which one do you want?
I'll take that redhead.
Zanuck and Brown had already worked on the Sugarland Express with Spielberg, and this had also helped them to decide on the direction the movie should go in. And besides, one of the first picks for director, Dick Richards, was fired when he pitched the idea of the opening scene being one where the camera would come out of the water, show the town, and then the whale would come out of the water. Yes, the whale. He was fired for not knowing the difference between a shark and a whale. But as confident as everyone was, things would not go as they hoped on the production. I do not want to work with you anymore. Go fuck yourself. This is what Richard Dreyfuss screamed at Robert Shaw after he had sprayed him with a fire hose. Dreyfuss had thrown away a glass of whiskey belonging to Robert Shaw, who it said drank constantly throughout the shoot and quite often between takes.
Hey, Chief, you try this. Made it myself. Pretty good stuff.
Thanks.
Here's to swimming with bow-legged women. Excuse me. You want a drink? Drink to your leg?
I'll drink to your leg.
Okay, so we drink our legs.
To have to sit around and wait all day for a 30-second
Sure.
And how do you psych yourself up for this kind of regimen every day?
Scotch, vodka, gin, whatever. No, we all have different methods. I do tend to drink when totally bored. Roy does exercises, Roy Scheider, and sunbathes. Scheider does that, and Dreyfuss just talks interminably.
When it came to the classic USS Indianapolis scene, where ironically the trio, Scheider, Shaw and Dreyfuss, were playing the characters in the context of inebriation, Shaw went full method, you could argue, and was absolutely wasted for material that just simply couldn't be used. He rang the director the following day, apologised, and asked for a second chance, which he got, and mastered the scene in one take. Actors with alcohol issues would not be the only problems the production faced, as the animatronic shark, which was nicknamed Bruce, after Spielberg's lawyer, Bruce Raymer, and in another interesting piece of trivia, the great white shark in Finding Nemo, played brilliantly by Barry Humphries, was also named Bruce.
Hello.
Well, hi!
Name's Bruce. It's alright, I understand. Why trust a shark, right?
Bruce and his two understudies would start to malfunction shortly after they began filming in the salt water. Their pre-production testing was done in fresh water, and they hadn't anticipated the corrosion that their saline enemy would bring, which created multiple headaches. The sharks frequently broke down, wouldn't work as intended, and also sank on a few occasions. 3 animatronic sharks would be used, with one being open on the right hand side, another open on the left, and of course the on-screen shark being fully skinned. Each shark came with a price tag of $250,000.
The shark is not working. The shark is not working. The shark is... And the shark never worked, and Steven Spielberg had to reconceive the film because the shark never worked.
With these problems and more, certain people involved in the production began to refer to the movie as flaws, rather than the titular Jaws. These problems significantly impacted the filming schedule, causing it to go over budget and overrun the initial schedule by a considerable amount. The challenges were so severe that director Steven Spielberg feared that he would be fired and that his career would be over before it even began. As is often the case in film production, some of the greatest ideas can be derived from the initial problems facing the director. Any good Jaws fan knows exactly where I'm going with this story, and boy oh boy, this shark malfunction problem was a blessing in disguise. The decision of less is more was made, and instead of trying to terrorize the audience with a big nasty fish showing up every 20 minutes or so, the point of view, or POV shots, were decided upon. Along with the incredible soundtrack from John Williams and editing from Verna Fields, a horror classic were the end results. Of course, inspiration was also taken from Universal's 1954 monster movie The Creature from the Black Lagoon, when the film's damsel, Kay Lawrence, Julie Adams, takes a dip. The audience is first introduced to the creature, Gillman, and we get some shots of Kay from beneath the water that look very similar to the underwater shots of Chrissy swimming in Jaws.
I'm coming! I'm definitely coming! Whoa! Hold up! What? I can swim! Just can't walk or dress myself.
The movie begins with Chrissy's last dip. In the New England beach town of Amity Island, a young woman wanders off with a male friend for a late night swim, and her paddling is brought to an abrupt end by the great white.
Come on in the water!
Take it easy. Take it easy.
3 days were spent shooting the opening scene. Susan Beckliney played the young Chrissy Watkins, and before getting in the water to shoot the scene, she was never informed about how she would be trashed around by the ropes attached to her in an endeavour to get as natural a reaction as possible. Along with some frightened coughing noises and her screaming, "Oh God," She actually screamed out the words, "It hurts," which referred to the ropes that created her rather unpleasant experience and a hugely unforgettable scene. When it came to casting the movie, Spielberg had considered Lee Marvin as well as Sterling Hayden for the belligerent, orca-sailing, apple-eating shark buster Quint.
You all know me. Know how I earn a living. I'll catch this bird for you, but it ain't gonna be easy. It's bad fish. Not like going down the pond chasing bluegills or tommycats. This shark, swallow you whole. Shaking, tenderizing, down you go. And we gotta do it quick. That'll bring back the tourists. That'll put all your businesses on a paying basis. But it's not gonna be pleasant. I value my neck a lot more than $3,000, Chief. I'll find him for 3, but I'll catch him and kill him for 10. And you gotta make up your minds. You wanna stay alive and ante up? You wanna play it cheap? Be on welfare the whole winter. I don't want no volunteers. I don't want no mates. There's too many captains on this island. $10,000 for me by myself. For that, you get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
He eventually decided upon Robert Shaw, who had impressed him with his performance in the 1963 James Bond movie From Russia with Love, where he played Donald Red Grant.
Any more in the other case?
I should imagine so. It's a standard kit. I'll have a look.
Put your hands back in your pockets.
Shaw was reluctant and apparently didn't like the source material, but was persuaded by his wife and his secretary to take the role. The main protagonist of Sheriff Brody would eventually go to Roy Scheider. Spielberg didn't pursue Scheider to play the role, nor did any casting director. Scheider got the part of Chief Martin Brody after overhearing Spielberg talking to a friend at a Hollywood party about the scene where the shark leaps out of the water and onto Quint's boat. Scheider was instantly enthralled and asked Spielberg if he could be in the movie.
From my cold, dead hands.
He said I could take this.
Although director Steven Spielberg considered Charlton Heston for the role, and both Heston and Universal Studios showed great interest, the main reason Spielberg decided against casting Heston was because of his heroic roles in his current spate of movies, specifically Earthquake 1974. Spielberg reasoned that if Heston would have been cast, it signifies to the audience that the shark has virtually no chance against this larger-than-life hero.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
This venerated line was said to have been ad-libbed by Scheider. When a Midwestern audience were shown an early cut of the film, they were so shocked by the pop-up scare that occurs when the great white shark breaches the surface of the water as Brady chums off the bow of the boat, that their reactions drowned out his iconic moment, "You're gonna need a bigger boat." After reviewing their taping of the moment, the filmmakers extended the sequence, added a little bit of extra time to allow the audience to recover so as they could enjoy the much needed moment of comic relief. The other tritagonist required would be that of Matt Hooper. Spielberg's buddy George Lucas had already worked with Richard Dreyfuss on American Graffiti. Jon Voight, Timothy Bottoms, and Jeff Bridges had already been considered for the role. Spielberg would later elaborate in an interview saying, "Dreyfuss was not my first choice. I went to Jon Voight first and he said no. I think we interviewed Timothy Bottoms as well as several other actors, including Jeff Bridges. I was a big fan of The Last Picture Show. I was going after everyone in the cast from that film. We either got turned down or they weren't available. These things happen all the time." Richard Dreyfuss got the part because I loved George Lucas's American Graffiti. George was the one who told me, "Why don't you cast Ricky Dreyfuss?" I sought a meeting with Richard, who said he was interested in seeing Jaws, but he wasn't interested in being in it. Unbelievable as it was to think that Dreyfuss wasn't interested, the director was not taking no for an answer. I was persistent, and Carol Gottlieb, who knew Richard well, kept saying to him, "Come on in, it'll be fun." So Richard accepted another meeting with me, and I talked him into it. As already mentioned, Dreyfuss would go on to spar with Robert Shaw, but nobody said it was going to be easy.
You got city hands, Mr. Hooper. Been counting money all your life.
All right. Hey, I don't need this. I don't need this working class hero crap.
With the shark hunting trifecta complete, they would now go on to one of the most difficult movie shoots of their career.
Anyway, we delivered the bomb.
When the dust settled on the overall production, it was time to release it. Once the film was ready to go, the next big concern was whether or not it would be a hit. Universal spent $1.8 million marketing the movie, including an unprecedented $700,000 on national television spot advertising.
There is a creature alive today who has survived millions of years of evolution without change, without passion, and without logic. It lives to kill. A mindless eating machine. It will attack and devour anything. It is as if God created the devil and gave him jaws. Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, Richard Dreyfuss. You're going to need a bigger boat. From the best-selling novel, Jaws, rated PG, maybe too intense for younger children.
On June 20th, Jaws opened across North America on 464 screens, 409 in the US, and the remainder in Canada. The coupling of this broad distribution pattern with the movie's then even rarer national television marketing campaign yielded a release method virtually unheard of at the time. Building on the film's success, the release was subsequently expanded on July 25th to nearly 700 theatres, and on August 15th to more than 950. After the movie became the first to cross the $100 million mark at the box office, it continued with its success, and the next chapter of this story would be the Academy Awards. The Oscars would indeed bring some success, with an Oscar for Best Sound.
Well, I really don't know what to say, except I thank everybody very much, and gee, that's all I can really say. Thank you.
I can only echo Mr. Hoyt's sentiments. It's a great honor. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank the Sound Branch Executive Committee who promoted, and the Academy Board who voted this Oscar, because it has extended to the sound effects mixer for the first time this honor. And I also would like to include the sound effects editors at Universal who provided my material and made my contribution possible.
I would like to thank John McDonnell and Bill Griffith and all the rest of them that contributed so much for it. Thank you very much.
John Williams winning Best Score.
Thank you.
Dick Zanuck and David Brown, thank you both for giving me the opportunity to work with an extraordinary man, Steven Spielberg. The great Universal Orchestra and my friend Herb Spencer, thank you, and all of the members of this Academy for giving me this honor. I'm a grateful man. Thank you very much.
And Verna Fields for Best Editing.
First, I want to say that giving me this, I consider a great tribute to our wonderful, fabulous, talented director, Steven Spielberg.
And after all the malfunctions of the Leviathan, the movie terrified hundreds of millions of people all over the world. Not bad considering the fact that the shark has 4 minutes of screen time. As for the sequels, Jaws 2 was a financial success despite a lukewarm response from critics, and both Jaws 3D and Jaws the Revenge are the black sheep of the franchise overall.
But I didn't do 3 and 4 because they got worse and worse and worse and worse, and more embarrassing and more embarrassing.
Michael Caine had this to say about the awful reviews associated with Jaws the Revenge.
When you bought her first house, what was that like for you?
Oh, that was incredible for me, for my mother to have a house. Because we lived in, well, we grew up in council houses, you know.
She was worried you couldn't afford it.
What I did is, one of the worst pictures I did was a picture, I think it was called Jaws 4.
The Revenge.
The Revenge, yeah. And I had a little part in that. And I was paid $1 million for 2 weeks' work. And with that money, I bought her the house. And someone said to me, I saw that Jaws 4. He said, it stinks. I said, I haven't seen it. I said, but I've seen the house it bought my mother, and it's marvellous.
After 5 decades, Jaws has inspired movies like Piranha, Alligator, as well as some iconic moments in comedy.
Shark still looks fake.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so never more shall we see you again.
Thanks for taking the time to watch, and do feel free to like, subscribe and share. I'll be back again soon with another video, and until then, stay away from the water.